This is the moment the special relationship cracked in public. Because what just happened between the United States and Canada is not a trade dispute. It is not about steel. It is not about tolls. It is a nuclear showdown hiding behind an empty bridge. Drive to the Detroit River right now and you will see it. 8 lanes, fresh concrete, steel cables cutting across the sky. A $9 billion monument called the Gordie Howe International Bridge, and not a single car moving across it. That silence is not an accident. It is leverage. And at exactly 9:47 a.m. Eastern Time, Mark Carney stepped in front of cameras in Ottawa and turned that silence into a weapon aimed straight at Donald Trump. But here's what the mainstream media is not spelling out. This was not an emotional reaction. It was strategic. It was calculated. It came with receipts. 13 days ago, this bridge was supposed to open with fireworks and handshakes. The plan was simple. The old Ambassador Bridge was overcrowded, privately owned. A choke point for $400 billion in annual trade. The new bridge would double capacity, cut wait times, protect supply chains for the next century. It was supposed to be a symbol of unity. Instead, it became a hostage. 2 weeks ago, according to officials briefed on the memo, President Trump instructed Homeland Security not to assign customs officers to the new bridge. No officers means no traffic. No traffic means a dead crossing. And then came the conditions. Canada had to dismantle dairy protections, ban Chinese EVs entering through its ports, pay a $1,200 per truck security fee, all tied to staffing a bridge that Canada largely paid for. The math simply doesn't add up, because those conditions were never part of the original deal. So this morning, Carney walked into that press room, looked straight at the cameras, and said one word that changed everything. No. No to the conditions. No to the pressure. No to the idea that Canada would fold. But that's where the story gets even stranger. He didn't stop there. He added a sentence so precise that energy traders in New York reportedly froze mid-call. He said that if the United States continues to block the bridge, Canada will reassess participation in critical energy infrastructure agreements that benefit American consumers. That was not a random phrase. That was a warning shot. Within minutes, headlines exploded. Markets reacted. The Dow dropped sharply in early trading. Energy stocks swung. Auto executives began dialing emergency calls. Because everyone who understands North American energy flows knows what that sentence pointed to. It pointed to pipelines. It pointed to the 1977 Transit Treaty that allows oil and gas to move across borders with stability. It pointed most of all to Line 5. And here's the part the White House did not expect. 18 minutes after Carney's speech ended, a 3-page document was leaked to the Wall Street Journal. The title? Option C, Strategic Energy Response Framework. 3 pages. That's all. But insiders say it reads like a blueprint for economic pressure. Phase 1. Request an emergency review of the pipeline treaty. That alone creates legal uncertainty. And markets hate uncertainty. Phase 2. Restrict crude oil volumes flowing through Line 5 to levels needed for Canadian refineries only. That means hundreds of thousands of barrels per day no longer reaching parts of the American Midwest. Phase 3. The nuclear option. Begin formal consultations with the European Union for a new transatlantic corridor. A slow pivot away from dependence on the U.S. This is not theater. This is leverage. And while Carney spoke in Ottawa, sources inside Washington say officials at the Department of Energy were scrambling, pulling up maps, running scenarios, calculating what happens if even a hint of disruption hits. Gas prices in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin. They do not move on speeches, they move on supply. And here's where it turns political. Michigan is not just another state. It is an election state, a swing state, a state already sensitive to fuel costs and auto jobs. Auto companies like Ford Motor Company and General Motors rely on smooth border crossings. Parts move back and forth multiple times before a car is finished. If the new bridge stays closed and congestion grows, production lines slow. If production lines slow, layoffs begin. But that's where the story gets even stranger. According to sources briefed on private calls, energy executives began contacting the White House within hours, not publicly, quietly, asking a simple question: is this worth it? Because while Trump believed Canada needed the bridge more than America did, Carney appears to believe the opposite. He believes the United States needs Canadian energy stability more than Canada needs one crossing. And Carney is not a typical politician. He is a former central banker, a man trained in markets, in pressure points, in asymmetric leverage. He knows that presidents can ignore headlines, but they cannot ignore gas spikes 3 months before primaries. Here's the part few are saying out loud. If Canada proves it can use energy as leverage against the United States, other nations will take notes. Mexico will take notes. The European Union will take notes. Even China will take notes. The message would be simple. The United States can be pressured. That is not just a trade dispute. That is a shift in global perception. Meanwhile, Republican leadership in Congress has been almost silent. No full-throated defense, no direct condemnation, just waiting. Because supporting escalation means owning higher prices. Opposing it means crossing the president. And inside Mar-a-Lago, according to individuals familiar with internal discussions, frustration is building. The question reportedly being asked again and again is why Canada would escalate like this. But this is not personal. It is structural. Trump attempted to turn infrastructure into leverage. Carney responded by turning energy into leverage. You can spin speeches. You cannot spin supply chains. You can attack polls. You cannot attack the price at the pump. And here is the cold truth. The bridge is not about dairy quotas. It is not about electric vehicles. It is about whether the United States still treats its closest ally as a partner or as a bargaining chip. When a partner feels cornered, it stops asking permission. It starts issuing demands. Over the next 72 hours, expect movement. Expect back-channel talks. Expect possible face-saving language. Perhaps a temporary staffing solution. Perhaps a joint review committee. Political choreography to calm markets. But something has already changed. The illusion that Canada will always bend. That illusion is gone. The Gordie Howe Bridge stands empty tonight. Lights on, traffic zero. A glowing symbol of a relationship under strain. The question now is not who blinks first. The question is whether trust, once weaponized, can ever fully return. Watch the markets. Watch the Midwest. Watch the next statement out of the White House. Because this is no longer about a bridge, it is about power. And the world is watching who actually holds it.